Secretary of Homeland Security is visiting the Arizona border tomorrow. Now, one of the things we're learning is that building a wall may not be as vital as plugging the spots where cars and trucks are already entering the U.S.
Members of Arizona's congressional delegation call this a crisis that's allowing deadly drugs to flow into the country. Team 12's Bram Resnick is live in the Alert Center for us with reactions from a hearing today that featured two of the leading candidates in the upcoming U.S. Senate race. Bram?
Yeah, this was a rare congressional hearing in Phoenix. Democrat Kyrsten Sinema and Republican Martha McSally were just a few feet apart. Now, the focus was how to ease the opioid crisis by dealing with border issues. A quick fix that won wide support was giving border checkpoints the staffing they need. President Donald Trump wants a wall on the border.
But it's critical, as we talked about today, for our security.
Republican Congresswoman Martha McSally issuing a warning not about the wall, but about a weak link on the border. The Arizona crossings where people, cars, and trucks enter the U.S. Those checkpoints need hundreds more staffers.
A lot of these drugs are coming through the ports of entry on people or in deeply concealed compartments that are very difficult to detect.
McSally convened a congressional subcommittee hearing Wednesday in Phoenix on the opioid crisis in Arizona. Governor Doug Ducey testified. One of the themes, plugging holes in the border.
A wall is not actually going to stop the opioid addiction.
The largest amount of dangerous illegal drugs are seized at the border ports of entry to the U.S., not between the checkpoints. That according to Customs and Border Protection data. Heroin seizures at the ports this year could top 4,700 pounds, 10 times the projected 470 pounds seized in the field.
And because we don't really invest in long-term infrastructure in terms of technology as well as personnel, it allows the cartels basically to be smarter and more adaptive.
The congressional hearing also offered a rare sight.
Congresswoman McSally, we've worked together to help stop the flow of dangerous drugs into our communities.
Democratic Congresswoman Kyrsten Sinema just 2 seats away from McSally. Both women are favored to face off in the fall general election for the U.S. Senate. Congresswoman McSally took questions from reporters during a break in the hearing. Congresswoman Sinema slipped out before the hearing ended. Live in the newsroom, Bram Resnick, 12 News.
Bram, thanks.